And this was the moment of the Republican National Convention. It's probably the greatest moment I've ever seen at a political party convention. A woman, a nun, Sister D.D. Bird, Sister Dr. D.D. Bird, completely stole the show. She is with Little Workers of the Sacred Hearts. She's not only a sister, she's not only a nun, she's a medical doctor. She's not only a medical doctor, she's an army surgeon. And she worked with refugees for many, many years. She actually, this nun in a habit, is actually embodying a broader scope of politics, a broader scope of science, of whatever, whatever sector you want to talk about, than just about anybody I've seen in the government, right? She checks the box of religious, she checks the box of military, she checks the box of scientist, she checks the box of practical scientist because she's a surgeon, she checks the box of patriot, all of these things. The left would look at this woman wearing a traditional habit and say, oh my gosh, she's the most fringe sector of society. No, she's more mainstream than any of you people. And she gave a much broader view of this issue that Abby Johnson was just talking about, of this issue of life and death on the question of abortion. She acknowledges the most marginalized people on earth.
Those refugees all share a common experience. They have been all marginalized, viewed as insignificant, powerless, and voiceless. And while we tend to think of the marginalized as living beyond our borders, the truth is the largest marginalized group in the world can be found here in the United States. They are the unborn.
There it is. The left is always talking about the marginalized and the oppressed and the vulnerable. Nobody is more marginalized and oppressed and vulnerable than babies who are killed in the womb, who have absolutely no means of defending themselves, who are totally, and they're killed with, at least with the consent of the government and their own mothers. That's there's no more oppressed group on earth. And I love how Sister Byrne she just says these things matter-of-factly. She explains it, not a big performance and arms flailing everywhere, just very simple. She's just telling you the truth. Now, what the left would say if they didn't know her biographies, they would say, oh, who cares? What does this nun know about anything? I want to hear from the scientists. Well, she gives you the science.
As a physician, I can say without hesitation, life begins at conception. While what I have to say may be difficult for some to hear, I am saying it because I'm not just pro-life, I'm pro-eternal life, and I want all of us to end up in heaven together someday.
Preach, sister. Yes. Oh my gosh, if we could elect this woman president, it would be so great. She's got this view that she has the expertise, right? She obviously has medical expertise. She's a doctor. She's got this practical expertise. She's a surgeon, so she can speak to, but she's not locked into her field of expertise. She doesn't have blinders on. One of the problems with public health officials is they might know something. Usually they don't know anything about public health, but sometimes they do. The trouble is society and politics is about more than just making sure people never get the sniffles. There actually are other dimensions you have to weigh, and she's weighing those things. She goes, look, I'm telling you about life as a physical process. I'm also telling you about eternal life as a spiritual process. And you have to think about those things because we're not just flesh, we're not just meat puppets. We have a soul, we have an immaterial dimension to us. Everything we love and care about, love itself, is immaterial, right? Our dreams, our hopes, our loves, our joys, our ambitions, all of these things, they're not physical. They can't be measured under a microscope. Someone has to speak to those as well. And then Sister Byrne goes a step further. She goes even beyond the fields of science and religion, which are complementary to one another. She goes further. She gets into politics.
Donald Trump is the most pro-life president that this nation has ever had, defending life at all stages. His belief in the sanctity of life transcends politics. President Trump will stand up against Biden-Harris, who are the most anti-life presidential ticket ever, even supporting the horrors of late-term abortion and infanticide. Because of his courage and conviction, President Trump has earned the support of America's pro-life community. Moreover, he has a nationwide of religious standing behind him. You'll find us here with our weapon of choice, the rosary. So thank you, Mr. President. We are all praying for you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Sister Byrne. Yes, Donald Trump is the most pro-life president in American history. And I know a lot of people, a lot of religious people, they don't want to say that. The American religious life has been utterly castrated since the Johnson Amendment, since we're not allowed to speak about any matters that have any practical bearing on politics in churches, lest they lose their tax-exempt status. We're not allowed to discuss religious matters in schools. We're not allowed to pray in schools, which we were in the United States from the founding, since before the founding, all the way up until not so long ago. We're not even allowed to read the Bible in schools anymore. Doesn't make any sense, does it? Sister Byrne, however, is not going to be neutered like that. She's going to come right out and say it. It's not just that Trump is the most pro-life, it's that Biden and Harris are the most anti-life candidates in American history on a mainstream level. They want to force taxpayers to pay for abortions. Should there be any limits on abortions? No, none, according to the Biden-Harris ticket. And she's out there to say it. And I think we should all learn something from that. It's this intersection. It's this coming together of all these various fields that's so wonderful here. It's this integrity of her thought, that the science informs the religion informs the science. Both the religion and the science inform the political. I'm sure you could expand that further. She obviously has a powerful mind and spirit. So I'm sure this comes out into other fields and then brings it back together in an integrity of thought. That's something that we could all learn from. You can tell I'm very excited by this speech. It was a wonderful speech. And it threw into stark contrast these issues of life and death. So the left will burn down the country if a criminal dies while resisting arrest. And we've seen multiple examples of this in recent months. But the left will cheer on the slaughter of 1 million innocent babies per year. It's a little odd, isn't it? And I don't mean just to castigate them and say the left they're all just terribly malicious. I'm saying, to be charitable about it, their view of life and death is completely backwards. They've got something's off in their perspective. Hey, Michael Knowles here, and the fact is, I have very expensive tastes. So please, be sure to subscribe to the Daily Wire on YouTube, because I depend heavily on your support. Thank you very much.